Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. His name is Robert Christopher Copes. Mr. Robert, how are you doing, sir?
I'm fine and I'm happy to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Robert. Firstly, you are a scientist. You're also a retired financer. Can you please, sir, discuss more about yourself and how you're doing currently now, sir?
Well, I stopped working for the Dutch Central Bank some 5 years
Mm,
ago, and I decided to be more active in the domain of near-death experiences. And that's where I wrote a book about, and which contains hundreds of quotes of NDEs, which I brought together. And that was a very nice work to do after I got retired.
that's very great. Thank you so much, sir. And can you please discuss more about your book, which is Impressions of Near-Death Experience? And do you also have more book you are planning to write in the coming future, sir?
Well, my recent book, that's Impressions of Near-Death Experiences, is was published by the International Association for Near-Death Studies in the US, of which I'm also board member. And it contains a lot of quotes, more than hundreds of quotes from near-death experiences. So those are people who have had a near-death experience, and a near-death experience is an experience where people come very close to death because of an accident or because of a heart attack, but sometimes also in other situations. And then they have the feeling that they go to this otherworldly environment. So some people actually call it heaven, or in any case, something that is not on earth. It's totally different. And they also say that it's real. It's more real than what we have here on earth. So the reality is there, and this is not the reality. That's how they say it. And I thought that was so interesting that I started researching these experiences for over 2 decades. And they give a very nice view, a very hopeful view of life, and also of the life after life when we really die, because people say that there's a lot of love there. It's unconditional love, and we all feel, or they all feel, that there is a very close connection between everyone here on Earth. So between you and me, you sitting in Nigeria and I'm sitting
Mm,
here in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, there is a close connection between us. We don't feel it at the moment, but there is, as the NDEs say.
wow, that's very, very nice. Thank you so much, Mr. Robert. And for people who don't really know what near-death experience is, can you please discuss more what near-death experience is, and as a scientist, how do you think they are commonly defined in scientific terms, sir?
Yeah, science is, it's difficult to research near-death experiences because they are very individual experiences. So every NDE is different from another one. Um, People also say that there's not enough words and concepts on Earth to describe what they are, what they have gone through. So if you ask an experiencer, they will have difficulty in explaining what they have seen. So that also makes it difficult for researchers to look into these experiences. But very interesting research has been done um, also in my country, but there has been a book published also with a lot of verifiable out of body
Mm,
experiences. And I'll have to explain what they are because, of course, I can imagine that your listeners don't know exactly what they are. You know, if you have a near death experience, people say they leave their body and they can sometimes see what is around their body. So if they have they are in a hospital where they undergo an operation, then they see what the doctors do. They can hear what the nurses and the doctors say to each other, and they can see all the tools they are using. Um, those stories have been uh, checked also and confirmed independently. So people have been outside their body, have been seeing what is going on around their body, and then they have their near-death experience where they go to this otherworldly environment, and then they come back again and they say what they have seen around their body, and that could be confirmed independently. And that's important, that it's confirmed independently. And there are hundreds of these stories which give some circumstantial evidence that these experiences are real, so that people really were outside their body, and or to say it differently, that their consciousness was outside their body and could see what is happening around their body. And that normally science thinks, or the theory is, that the brain creates consciousness. But with these experiences, and these, especially the ones that could be confirmed later on independently, it shows that your consciousness can be separate from your body. And then it's interesting to see what NDEs say. And some of the messages of NDEs are really nice, because they know they will continue after their death. So death is not the end. They know there is an afterlife, and it's a very nice afterlife, and everyone goes there, and it's full with love. So everyone has the possibility to go there after their death. And it's not only a possibility, but people with an NDE are absolutely sure that people will go there. We all go there.
I'm always happy when I hear that there is a life after this life. It gives someone hope, no matter the circumstances someone is passing through. And it's also even very difficult to also, probably assimilate this when it comes to leaving the body. When it leaves the body, the brain is normal. My belief is that the brain is normal functioning. So how did the person remember what he or she saw around him when he or she awakes? Sir?
Yeah, that's interesting, because the brain doesn't function,
Mm,
or it functions at very, very low level. But there's a lot of evidence also that people sometimes have flat lines. So on the computers of the doctors, they see only that there's no heartbeat and there's no activity in the brain. Yet they have a very, very vivid remembrance or memory of that period, and can tell what they have gone through. How that can be explained? Well, certainly you cannot explain that by saying that you need a brain to remember these things, because the brain was out. So there must be something else, and that thing is then that that your consciousness can be separate from your body. It doesn't need your brain to function or to be there. That's the main conclusion that you can draw. And I know there are a lot of people who don't want to go that way, but I just tell them, look at the evidence, look at all those that circumstantial evidence of all those verifiable out of body experiences. Those are important. So science, there are scientists that really want to research this, because they say something is going on there, but we don't know what it is. And I just invite them to look further and research this better. And I'm talking about brain researchers and brain people that are knowledgeable about brains. I'm not about knowledgeable about that. I just collect hundreds of quotes from NDEs, and I order them in categories, like also, for instance, with the life review, or how does this otherworldly environment look like? those are very interesting topics.
I might also hope this recharge, comes out as soon as possible. I remember you said, I am in Nigeria, you are in the Netherlands currently, and you said we have different, cultural belief and also probably, personal beliefs. So I would like to ask, how do cultural, religious, or personal belief influence what people experience or remember during their near death experience?
Yeah, so you're talking about the cultural differences in
Mm,
NDEs, and we discovered that there are some cultural differences.
okay.
Like, for instance, if you see people having a near death experience in uh, Western societies or societies where Christianity is predominant, then in a number of those NDEs, people will see Jesus. um, in other areas, like in India or so, people will typically not see Jesus, but they will see other uh, personalities or deities from their own religion, like Krishna. And in Islamic countries, people will see uh, uh, people like Muhammad or Al Mahdi or other
Mm,
uh, principal figures from their religion. So there is some cultural differences in that respect. But I think the reason why this happens like that is that um, if people have their near-death experience, they experience things they cannot explain because it's this otherworldly environment. They say we don't have words enough and concepts enough to explain what it all is. So, if they see a bright light and they see a figure in it, if you are really into Christianity, you might see Jesus in it. If you're into Hinduism, you will see probably Krishna or another deity in that. So, but the interesting thing is, what are the parallels? What are the things that people see and that is the same? Now, love, unconditional love, those are the things that are mentioned almost in all NDEs. And so that must be really important. And that also gives a message to us here on earth that we should be more loving to towards each other.
mm,
And another thing that I find that's also what you can see across cultures is that there is that people really feel, so NDEs really feel that there is a close connection between everyone. And even some people say we actually are one. We are one whole. We don't see that at the moment when we are here on Earth, because you are somewhere else and you lead your own life, and I'm here and I'm leading my life here. But in principle, when we die, we will see that it's actually the same.
mm. That belief comes from the time of people believe that, during the Adam and Eve, everybody multiplies. So people still have that belief that we are still one, but things have really, really changed. I would like to go to imagine technology. I know you are a scientist. I don't know if you probably know more about technologies that are emerging today. So I'd like to ask, are they emerging technologies or technique that could provide more definitive answers about the nature of the near-death experiencer?
That's difficult. I think there
Mm,
is good research being done, but it's difficult because this is an otherworldly environment that these people talk about. So the research that I mentioned in verifiable out of body experiences, that is something that I find important. There is other research where hidden signals are placed on at a higher level in an operating room, because what happens if someone leaves their body during an operation,
Mm.
most of the time people will say, well, I was floating towards the ceiling and I could look down, see what the operation was about and how the doctors went about and did to me. Um, and then the hope is that in that kind of research, the NDEer, who is just close to the ceiling of the operating dome, will see the hidden figures. And then when they are resuscitated again, they come back and they say, wow, there was this hidden figure. But that kind of research didn't really yield a lot of conclusions. So that is one sort of research. And I think the reason why I didn't give any conclusions is that if someone exits their body, you are bewildered. Uh, you think this is crazy. What is happening? And you're not going to look for hidden figures. You're going to look at the operation, and at one point in time, you are going to be drawn away from there and go into the light and go into this otherworldly environment. So you will miss the hidden figures. Now, you also ask about techniques. I don't know if there are any techniques that we can use to research these experiences. What I think is interesting is what science does. Science tries to comes up with quantum mechanics, and that is also very interesting. They in quantum mechanics, some of the things happen there that are so strange that they may resemble what NDEers say, but that's a far shot. So I'm not sure about where we will be at when the researchers they're still busy. So I don't know.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Roberts. And personally, have you encountered any personal story of near-death experience that you have profoundly, impacted you as a scientist, sir?
Yes, that you know, one part of near-death experiences that I
Mm.
find very, very important, and that also is life changing for the experiencer themselves, is the life review. There are many stories of people who have had a near death experience, and a subset of those tell about a life review. So, what is a life review? Is that where you see your life played out in front of you. You can see it, you can zoom in to into a one particular point. You can zoom out, see the whole. And what they say is that what happens is that you can see what you did to others, um, but you see it from both your own perspective and the perspective of the other. Maybe I should give you an example there because that is really what struck me when I read about these or when I spoke to people who had such an experience. Like we had this elderly lady from the Netherlands, but she was very young when she had, well, she was younger when she had her near death experience. And in her near death experience, she saw her life review. And in her life review, she saw that she shared sweets just after the war in the Netherlands, where we didn't have a lot of stuff. There was no luxury goods, no sweets, but the mother of the little girl had sweets and gave it to her to share with school friends. In her near-death experience, years later, she saw that particular moment. And in that moment, she saw that she shared the sweets with her school friend. And she saw it also from the point of view of her school friend. And she felt it emotionally from that perspective. And the emotion was like, oh, I'm thought so valuable that I get some of these sweets. Um, and that was overwhelming for the end of the year. Now, there are many of these stories, also stories of people who did something horrible to others and have to go through the emotions of the one receiving those horrible activities. So, if you If, for instance, one person killed someone, or killed many people, he had to go through all the emotions of the people that he killed. He had to go through the emotions of the people that were left behind, like the women of those people that were killed and the children of those people that were killed. And that's really a life changer, because next time when you come back again on earth, or when you come after your NDE, you think twice before you do something to someone else. It is really, it makes you think, what am I doing? Will this be okay for the other side? So you're more cautious. And having said that, I know that NDEs don't turn into saints. They still remain human with their flaws.
That's very great. It's very great. You definitely made that clear. Thank you so much, Mr. Robert. And lastly, there's a question I normally ask her. From the ancestors, from the forefathers, there are a lot of things that exist during our ancestral time and our forefather time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing would be, sir?
You mean what I would bring back from my ancestors to
Yes,
this time?
anyone or anything. Yes, sir.
Uh, I wouldn't know. I hope that we as a human species will move into a direction where we are more loving to towards each other. You know, I hope that near death experiences and the research into that will show that they are real, and that will you can conclude that based on the circumstantial evidence of verifiable out of body experiences. And then if enough people believe that they are real, then they will look for the real central messages in near death experiences. And I think these are that love is so important, and that we are all one. So if I do something to you, then I actually do it to myself, and I will be able to feel what it is from your point of view. I will feel your emotions. I think that if enough people realize that, they will change their way of living. And to conclude, maybe with one story that is, in this respect, comes to my mind.
Mm,
There was a little girl, Christina, who was abducted by two men, and they tried to drown her. She had her near death experience. And in her near death experience, she was talking to an elderly man, and she said that could only be God. And God told me that life is easy, it only has four ingredients, and the ingredients, the important ingredients are love, be loved, just be, and experience life.
mm,
So love and be loved, that has to do with love. And then just be, just be who you are, and experience life. Go through life and know that everything you do is important. Every life is important. That's one of the other things that NDEs say. And I didn't get that from my ancestors. This is what I get from NDEs. And I think that is a very important message.
mm. Very, very, very important one, Mr. Robert. In our time today, a lot of people just take a lot of unnecessary things on them. Sometimes we just have to live this life. We are not on this earth forever. We are just here for the meantime. Let's live it. Let's love one another, and let's just continue to help each one another if we are in the position to do that. I want to sincerely thank you, Mr. Robert, for the time, for speaking on this near death experience topic. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Temi, for having me on your show. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Have a wonderful day, sir. Bye bye.
Bye.